Surrendering is vital to the recovery process.
Surrendering, in my opinion, is the biggest key in the recovery process. If we don't surrender to this disease, we're doomed to repeat our same behaviors.
And one of the things we educate our clients about here is the difference between surrender and compliance. So we look at compliance as somebody who maybe is behaviorally stable and follows the rules, and kind of stays out of trouble. We look at surrender as somebody who has kind of thrown up their hands and said, you know, I can't handle life anymore the way I'm living, and I really turn to a higher power or the staff here or their peers for help and for guidance.
Most people have to come to the place where they say, doing it my way hasn't worked. And people that chronically relapse kind of go through that cycle where they'll go into a treatment program, they'll get information, they'll give themselves some clean time, they'll heal up a little bit from a physiological perspective, but they haven't really made that shift, and that's part of the spiritual shift that's so important to sustaining sobriety.
Surrender is sort of a negative word. People think of surrender as giving up. Well, we're asking you to give up something. We're asking you to give up a very negative practice, substance abuse. Until a person realizes that substance abuse is doing them in, they're not going to make progress.
So that willingness to surrender in so many literal day-to-day activities, to follow a particular direction, to show up when we ask them to show up, to make their beds and keep their rooms clean, to wear a jacket and tie to dinner for the meals, to change their room when we ask them to change their room. That willingness to do whatever it takes is incredibly important. If they do that here and they do it for a sustained period of time, it's much more likely that when they get out into the real world and they're facing the adversity that life has, that they're able to then turn towards people in their fellowship, people in AA or NA, their sponsor, etc., and be able to be willing to follow a direction.
Surrendering to me was hard. It's not giving up, but it's just choosing to live a different way.
Understanding what it actually takes to heal is quite difficult because it requires some major life changes. It requires major personality changes, behavioral changes. It requires you really looking at your value system.
So the more that they face themselves and face the adversity of just being here long term, the more opportunities they have to demonstrate that surrender and that willingness. And when they do that in a sustained way, it gives us the likely idea that they're going to be able to do it on the outside.